What's up guys, so today we've got something I'm really hyped about. I just got this in the mail only like an hour ago and I couldn't wait to open it, so I figured I'd do it on video. It is long past due that I got one of these, and for about like a year I've just been going back and forth on which one to get, and I finally settled on one. And oh wow, it's been a long time since I've seen packing peanuts. My cat would go crazy for these. Wow, this is a lot of packing peanuts. Alright, well that was exciting. Let's get this thing out of here. Alright, and here it is. So let me get this box open now. So again, I should have gotten one of these long time ago, but this is a Regal oscilloscope. Wow, they've got like a little fancy pull tab here. My cat found the box already. I haven't even opened the box yet. Fortunately, he found the one without the packing peanuts. Alright, let's get this thing opened up. Ooh, oh, I'm so hyped about this. Alright, so this is an oscilloscope. And I got the Regal DHO 804. So this is a 4-channel, 12-bit, 70 megahertz oscilloscope, 1.25 gigasamples per second. I believe there's a firmware mod for this that you can push it past the 70 megahertz, so we're definitely going to be messing with that. One of the main reasons I picked this one up is for videos actually, because I'm going to be able to have an HDMI out on these, and it also has this really awesome VESA mount back here, so I can just pop this on like a monitor stand thing and swivel it around to where I need it, because God knows I don't have any desk space to put this thing on. It does have these nice little legs here, but I'm definitely not going to be using those. But yeah, I'm really excited to start messing with this thing. So I'm going to put this aside for 2 seconds here. We also have a power cable, presumably. Yep, and here's the power brick. So it gets powered off of USB-C right here. I'm going to go find us an outlet. God help me find an outlet that I can use. All right, wonderful. I found an outlet. Looks like it also comes with a USB cable. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use this or a capture card with the HDMI port. I guess we'll have to figure out what works better, but it's nice that we have some options. We also got a little banana plug wire here. So here's that guy. And finally, we have 4 probes. And I think that's going to be it. So we can put this box away. So for now, I'll just open one of these guys, because I think they all come with the same stuff. So we've got the little hook probe there, and then the alligator clip for ground. And then we have some little like plastic colored things that you can use to match it to the channel that you're plugging it into, because the channels on this thing are color coded. So since channel 1 is yellow, let's just pop the yellow one on this thing. I'm not actually entirely sure where the yellow thing goes. Oh yeah, and here's the 10x and 1x switch on the probe itself. I think I figured out where this is supposed to go. I think it's supposed to go on the bottom here, because there's a little recessed area for it. Yeah, that looks like that's where that's supposed to go. So cool, there's a little probe. I am not entirely sure what this thing is or what this is supposed to do. Looks like a little tool or something like that. I'm not too sure. Oh, I see. I think there's a little trimmer inside here that you can adjust with that little tool. Yeah, that appears to be what that's for. Anyways, we got 4 of those. Oh, and this is nice. The USB-C cable has a little clip on it so it doesn't get yanked out or bend the USB-C cable. So this kind of like clicks in there, and this is not going anywhere. It's not coming out or bending. All right, so let's turn this thing on. Ooh, I like all the little colors. It's starting up. There's a little fan in the back. It's not horribly loud actually. And I guess we can hook this thing up here for channel 1 while we wait for it to boot up. It's on. There we go. Cool. This display is so nice. Cool, so this is a little touchscreen thing. You can enable or disable channels. It looks like it auto-enabled channel 1 at least, maybe because I have it plugged in. And I believe if we hook this up to this little clip here, we can get a square wave going, and maybe we can see what that looks like. That's certainly doing something. Oh, here we go. I don't know how I screwed this up. Okay, so this is the vertical position, and this is sort of like the vertical scale of the wave. So we can kind of do this, and then you can zoom in here. So this is a test square wave. You can see it's chugging along there. And a lot of these, if you click them in, it kind of goes back to the default. Oh, and here's the trigger level. Okay, there we go. So this is what helps us get the waveform to be, you know, still, for lack of a better word. And then clicking this goes back to 50%. So we can put this back to 0. We could trigger this somewhere around here. And notice how when we increase the sort of vertical scale, the trigger moves with it. I saw the firmware on a couple oscilloscopes that were cheaper didn't like auto scale the trigger, and it kind of just like stayed where it was. So it's nice that this sort of does that for you. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Let's zoom out a bunch. Wow, you can really zoom out on this. Look how long it's going to take to fill up the screen with these these waves. That's pretty wild. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this thing. This is really cool. And we can get really zoomed in here to like the ramp up of the actual square wave. You know, square wave is actually perfect. There's actually this like ramp. It does actually take time for the attack, if you will, of the square wave. So you can see there I can zoom in on where the square wave changes from low to high. And if you zoom out, it looks like it's a perfect straight up and down line, but it's technically actually, you know, going from the bottom of the square wave to the top over time. Looks like you can connect this to the network as well, which is pretty cool. You can change all of these options from the touchscreen as well. You don't necessarily have to do it from the knobs. You can like move these little windows around, which is kind of cool. I'm definitely gonna have to play with some of this stuff. This is wild. This thing is definitely going to be all sorts of fun with PS5s and Xboxes and stuff like that. I'm really excited to start using this with console repair. Looks like this stop button lets us sort of freeze what's going on. We can like zoom in. Oh, I just clicked auto. Whoa, it like, did it automatically like try to set the trigger and stuff like that? Let's see if that's what that does. Let me click auto again. Yeah, cool. So it automatically sets the trigger and like tries to show you sort of a nice useful centered view of the wave on the screen. That is very cool. It even automatically tries to detect like different channels, it looks like. We have a little menu over here. So this is the like cycle of the wave. It's about 1 millisecond here, and you can see the frequency listed here, which is 1 kilohertz. This thing is way cool. I'm gonna take a little bit of time to figure out what the hell I'm doing with this thing, and I'll come back and show you guys a few demonstrations with this that I'm super psyched for. So I will see you guys then. All right, we got this as well here, and this is going to be a arm for the oscilloscope. As you can see, it's just like a monitor arm that is like wall mounted. Those are some massive wall anchors. Wow. Oh, and this is cool. It looks like we can loosen it if we want to like pull off the thing without having to undo the vase mount part. So that's kind of nice. Cool. So let me get this set up. So you can see I have it here mounted on the monitor arm, and this is such a great way to mount this thing. I love the fact that it has a vase mount on it, and it's right on my face level, so I can just tap the settings I need to and hang the probes over here or over the unit itself. And I can move it further or closer to my bench if I need to. And you can see I have like no space on my desk here for anything, so this is really a great idea to put a vase mount on this. Anything to save that precious desk space. And it's even better with the HDMI output because I have it hooked up to a capture card, which is sick. So I can show you guys exactly what I'm doing on it, and I don't even have to have it in frame, and I can have whatever I'm working on in frame. And I can even probe certain things out of the microscope and keep it in frame. I'm really hyped that this has HDMI output because this makes my life super easy to record and show you guys what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna hook this little ground clip up to the heatsink here to grab the ground point. Then if I show you under the microscope here, we have some vias on the NAND, and this second one up here from the bottom is actually a data line for the NAND. So we can actually visualize what's happening on this line during boot. So watch what happens when I press the power button on this. I'm actually gonna turn the scale up to 1 second per division. So it's just gonna like scan kind of across the screen, so we can see over time what happens. And I have the probe set to ×10, so I'm just going to also make sure that gets set that way here. I think it's in vertical, and we're gonna go to ×10 probe. And what this does is it just reduces the voltage by a factor of 10, and then it does the math on the oscilloscope side here if we set it to the same thing on the scope. And we should be getting, I think, about 1.8 volts for the data on this line. So I've gone ahead and connected it here, and I'm gonna press the power button and watch this. See that? And it should give us, yeah, another blip there. And then I'm gonna say stop on the scope. And you can see that this thing has booted. But this is super cool because you can see the boot stages of the NAND communicating with the console. So if we zoom in on this, this is actually the first stage boot happening on the console. We can actually see it and visualize it and zoom into it and compare it with a non-working console that's having trouble booting, that doesn't have any like power issues necessarily. We can use this kind of thing to compare working versus broken consoles and compare boot sequences, And then over here we can see the second stage boot as well. And if I left the probe on there longer, it would show us a longer string of pulses once the console started to load the OS and stuff like that. And just as an example, here's a console where I know it's getting stuck around like the first stage of the boot sequence. So we can actually do something similar here. I'm going to plug a battery into this guy, and we'll hook up ground to the USB-C port here. And let's go into the microscope here, and we can probe that exact same data line while I trigger the power button with my tweezers. So I'm gonna run this again. You can see it's basically at 0 volts right now. And now let's see what happens when I turn the console on. So we see the first stage boot, but nothing after that. So kind of cool that we can visualize this now, that this console is for sure getting stuck in first stage boot. So if we were to measure the voltage rails on this thing, we would only see the first stage boot voltage rails coming up. So you can see a similar pattern in the beginning here, but then we don't see any indication of the second stage boot after it. So just kind of a cool demonstration. I'm really happy with this thing. This is a really cool tool, and I'm sure I'm going to be using it for lots and lots of repairs. I honestly don't know why I held off on getting one so far. I think most of it was the price. They're a little bit pricey. You can get cheaper ones, but I wanted a decent scope, and I know a lot of people liked this Regal one, and I'm really happy with it so far. I'm excited to start messing with it. It also has some pretty cool like logic analyzer decoding capabilities. So we can decode things like SPI, for example, for like monitoring PS5 BIOS communication. Especially because of the 4 channels, I can actually hook up all 4 data pins on the BIOS chip, and we can actually see the communication between the South Bridge and the BIOS chip, and we can make comparisons between, you know, working and broken consoles there too. We've got some new tools in to look at. I'm going to open up a few of these now because it'd be nice to be able to use a few of these today. All right, so here is the first one. Now let's see what's in here. It could be one of a few things. Okay, I know what this is. So this is some really nice precision screwdrivers. Let's take a look how these look. It looks like we have a little mechanic seal here. Can cut open, and this should just be a magnet. Ooh, and there they are. So I got the red ones. These are the iShell 3D Max ones. There's a few different kinds. I really liked the red color, so I grabbed them. And they're nice and short, so they definitely fit real nice in the hand. This one is a really small Y screwdriver. Then we've got this weird one that I actually don't really know what this is for. This is the Pentalope one, so this would be nice for iPhones and MacBooks and things. We've got a really small Phillips head right there, super small. And then another Phillips head here that's a little bit bigger. And then here is a T2 Torx bit. And it's fun because this little knurled grip here is different per screwdriver. Then you obviously have also the different pictures on the top of the screwdriver. These also have some nice like ball bearings. So really comfortable in the hand. And I'm excited to start using these. Heads up that if you're looking into buying these, they're extremely precise. So they're really just for like mobile repair work and things with extremely tiny screws. These are even too small for like the switch screws, for example. So I just wanted to give a heads up that they're not like normal screwdriver size and that they're super tiny. And there's a list there of the bits it comes with. These will be extremely nice to use when I need them. So there's that. Let's get this guy open as well here. This is like a USB-C and lightning tester, and it's from Mechanic. So we've got some instructions here that it comes with. But yeah, it's essentially just this little tester here that you can plug into Switch consoles or into iPhones, and it will test the charge port for you. And I think you can charge this thing. I think it has a little lithium-ion battery in it. Let's see, on. Oh, if I press down this way, it turns it on. Let me zoom into this. So I like pressed it in, and this turns it on and off. So this is just saying, please insert. If I press, it just sort of refreshes, I think. If I press and hold, maybe it turns it off. Yeah, and up and down refreshes either this or this, I believe. So let's turn this back on. And for example, let's just plug it into like this little charger port here. And it's testing. And we're probably only gonna get like charge pins showing up because this is just like a little battery powered thing. Yeah, in this case, you can see most of those are showing up as OL, except for like the VCC pins on each side and then ground. So that makes sense on a device like this that we're just using to like charge. You can also test on an iPhone here. Plug it in, testing, and there are the readings we're getting for the lightning port. So that's pretty cool. So this is kind of just like the next step up from a breakout board. Oh, it looks like there's a little film on here we might be able to take off. Yeah, here we go. I'm assuming you're supposed to take this off, but it is sort of like screwed onto the screen. So, but yeah, the glass looks way nicer underneath this thing. So I will take it off. Unscrew some of these and get the plastic off from around the screw because that is going to bother me a lot. I think you can charge it using this USB-C port. Let's try a switch motherboard here. This is an OLED. You can also press up, I believe, to refresh. It will just like test again. So yeah, it just grabs diode mode readings of the port and saves you a lot of time from testing every single pin on the charge port. So this can be really handy to diagnose charging issues or even other issues like docking issues on switches, for example. But yeah, you can see it's charging there. So a pretty handy little device, gonna be really nice to add to my toolbox. So let's move on to the next package. All right, here we go. I'm pretty hyped about this. I think I know what this is. So I should have got something like this a long time ago. Yeah. So this is basically just like a dual channel thermometer, but it lets you use those like K-type thermistor things. And the nice part about this dual channel one is I'm gonna be able to read the temperature of the top and the bottom of a board while doing reflowing at the same time on the same device. You know, this will be super useful for things like the SSD controller on PS5s or even things like the SoCs on Switch motherboards. So far, I've just been using my thermal camera to get relatively accurate temperature readings on the top and bottom of the board. And I still do recommend using a thermal camera when you're doing reflowing because it does give you more of a visual indication of where the heat is, whereas this is just going to be measuring one particular point on the board. This is going to give you a much better idea of exactly what is heating where. So in my opinion, these are super underrated for BGA rework, but at the same time, it's really hard to use this for the underneath of the board and for the top of the board at the same time. So getting a general idea of what the temperature is, like especially near the chip that you're reflowing or putting on the board, is going to be super, super helpful. I'm just gonna try to get this little protector off of here. I've got some rechargeable AAAs we can pop in here, and let's see what we've got. So here it is. It can actually detect that one is plugged in and one is not. That's interesting. And if I grab this thermistor with my fingers, can take the temperature of my fingers, and I'm really happy that this thing is 2-channel. You can buy a 1-channel version of this if you want, but I don't think the price difference was really that much between the two. Let's see if I put them together in my fingers if they read similar results. And yeah, that's really similar. It's like 0.1 of a difference. And then we got a mode here. Oh, this is just showing us maximum temperature. So if I heat these up more and then let go, it's going to tell us the maximum temp. Got a min as well, that's cool. So if I like blow on this with some cold air, got it nice and cooled off. What else has this got? Average, that's cool. Average temperature, and then normal probably. Yeah, so it's got max, min, and average, and then the normal thing. Oh, this is cool. This is like a difference thing. So if I press this, it will take the difference between 1 and 2. Yeah, you can see there's a little backlight there. And if I press and hold this again, it'll shut off, but probably won't be needing that. That's just gonna waste battery. Yeah, super handy tool. This is gonna be really nice for BGA rework, especially on larger chips. So excited to start using this with some of that work. And I'm also really psyched to use the screwdrivers and our little port tester there. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.